We're here, and we're actually, let me pinch myself. Yes, we're live. Michael Bryant here, Just to Serve TV. Uh,
Linda Kenny Bodden here on the other side.
I
Just
could
for
be in
TV.
Fulton County in Atlanta, or I could be in a generic hotel lobby. But if I were outside, I'd have to be maybe in a canoe because it's a little wet out there in Atlanta. I was hoping to do this from the courthouse. I talked to Doug Weinstein again.
Right.
And I talked to a couple of other folks there that would have been great to have on, but the weather and Hurricane Helena not helping us here. So we're doing the best we can under the circumstances. Yeah. Good to have you along. We appreciate it. A couple of quick housekeeping things before I forget, Linda, because you know I will. Congrats again to Amanda, who won our first Where in the World is Justice mug. She guessed Atlanta, Georgia, and sure enough, that's where we are. And again, obviously, to cover the YSL trial in its third, fourth, fifth year, whatever it may be. So
I think it's close to 140 days, somewhere around
something
there.
like that.
We also have another housekeeper. We're supposed to have Doug on live, but because of the Wi-Fi issues with the hurricane and all, we did tape a segment with him, which we will show. Yep. We will have that for you. And we had a lot of questions to him that you wanted to know that you asked in our previous chat. And want to say hello to Afton, who just got on and joined us. Hi, Afton. Nice to have you on.
Always count on Afton. In fact, when I don't show up one day, Afton will be here.
Yes, that'd be great because you know what, Afton, we are looking for one of our viewers to be on with us like a co-host and answer questions and get questions and answer them. So if you think you're able to do that and you're not camera shy, because we find that a lot of people are really camera shy.
Just like you. Exactly like
I'm so camera shy.
Yeah. Right? You know, I got this particular hotel because it's near Truist Park, which is where the Atlanta Braves play. And they have a big series with the New York Mets. I'm a San Francisco Giants fan, so I hope they both implode. But it's a big series. Last night, the Mets lost, so they have only a one-game lead. I'm going into my sportscaster thing here. They only have a one-game lead. Tonight's game has been canceled because of the rain. So has tomorrow's, and now they're going to try and make it up on Monday. So I will not be here. But that was the idea, getting to this hotel. I could walk to Truist. I guess I could still walk there. There just won't be any baseball.
And also, just so you all know, we were supposed to be here at Just to Serve through the end of the week, but because of the hurricane and because court, we'll have to let you know that the YSL court has been canceled tomorrow and Friday, that we had to end that tonight. So my team has a couple of great players. Kansas City, are we talking now about the baseball, or are we talking about one of my favorite teams in football, the Kansas City?
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for football just yet. I'm just not ready.
Oh,
but I do appreciate that the Jets are at least respectable now, and Rodgers is certainly paying off in year number 2. So
yeah, and why do you think our colors on Justice Served are green?
It's we collaborated on this whole thing. You conned me into that, so I hadn't really.
Oh, you're a Steelers girl, Afton. Okay.
Now I would be blue and gold for the Rams if we were doing football. What's that?
Afton says she's a Steelers girl.
Oh, my son is a big Steelers fan. Yeah, huge. He was an intern for the Pirates this last summer, and he was able to, hang out in those venues and went to the very first exhibition game this year for the Pirates before he ended that internship. But it's a great city. So, anything else we want to talk about before we get to some questions here? Let me think. Anything that came up? I know.
Oh, wow. We're already at the Sarah Boone status. We're going to talk about that after. Don't worry about Sarah Boone. We have some updates on it. Yeah, but there is something I do want to talk about. Yeah, when we last had Doug Weinstein on, one of the questions I asked him at the end is, should prosecutors, and I'm going to add politicians to this mix, be liable when they misuse the justice system? Like, we believe this is being misused in the Young Thug case. It's just ridiculous to have trials that go on for 2, 3, 4, and now this one's predicted to go on to 2027. And last night we saw the state of Missouri execute Marcellus Williams, right? Clearly somebody who a commission the prior governor had put together said was probably innocent. The prosecutor tried him, said he's innocent. He should let him out. And instead he was executed by the failure of the governor. The governor wouldn't pardon him, wouldn't do anything. And then the United States Supreme Court, on a decision that went like the right to lifers, said no, execute the man, and the non-right to lifers said, he should be spared. And I think that politicians Quite frankly, in my opinion, that was murder, and politicians should start being held accountable, whether it's Fonnie Willis, whether it's Miss Love, whether anybody, when they bring cases and maybe misuse the justice system. We'll see if it gets misuse here, but Marcellus Williams, in my opinion, was murder. So I just want to bring that up because we're going to continue to have that conversation with Doug Weinstein as we started to last week in the future.
Yeah, and you know, you look at this case and you just wonder, what's the motivation? Why were they just dead set in killing this guy? What, in light of all of the information that came up after the conviction? I don't understand it.
I don't either.
Are people that politically motivated? They think somehow it helps if they carry out an execution in light of so much contradictory information. I don't get it. I don't know what the motivation
is. Finality, right? Well, you know, nothing is final in this world. Marriages aren't final unless of course somebody kills somebody, which will
death is pretty final.
That'll get us to the Sarah Boone status conference, who got moved from tomorrow to Friday, and there's reasons for that. So, but I know we want to talk about that, but we also want to talk about YSL. What happened?
Okay, let's dovetail your outrage at the prosecution with the Fonnie Willis extravaganza. And I will say, I talked to a number of people on the street over the last couple of days, and I'm putting that together. We'll probably see at the end of this week. Not one, let me spoil it for you here. Not one person was in favor of the prosecution. And I don't mean that they were winning, but just in bringing the case in the first place. Not one person. And I talked to a lot of people. So we'll hear from some of those folks at the end of the week. So to your point, overzealous prosecution unfortunately ended in death in the one case. We're not sure how it's going to end in this case, but it ain't ending anytime soon.
Or you may find people die of old age. I mean, that's a possibility.
Well, I was talking to a lot of folks I think know Sylvia. What's her name? She has a name, Infamous Sylvia. I think most people know her. She streams the trial. She actually got questioned by the court at one point because she had given nicknames to the jurors, and the court, called her up and was asking about these nicknames, which are cute little things, like one is SpongeBob. You have to be in that courtroom as much as she is to even come up with nicknames because of that dividing wall that I mentioned in yesterday's report. You can't really see them all that well. So if you're in there day in and day out, hour after hour, you get a sense of maybe male, female, general body type. So she had her nicknames. Got called up by the court. I wanted to talk with her, and we had planned to, but I think she's a little shy. She does a lot of behind the scenes stuff she had more streams going there than CNN. And she's totally into that. Just don't think she's very into talking about herself so much. So she's one of the characters. I also got to talk with Yak Gotti's mom, Tasha. Most of it off the record, so I will respect that, obviously. She said, you mentioned how long this trial's been going on. She said, I'll talk after the trial is over. And I said, I'll be dead. So, it's not going to help me at that point. But she was very lovely, felt for her. And, of course, Yak Gotti is Doug Weinstein's client.
Right. And Doug has blown up our YouTube page, rightly so. You can go to the interview still on.
I told him.
Views already.
I said, you're very popular. And he said, well, that's something new. so I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So there's a lot of questions from that. You pulled out some of them.
Let me see if I can
answer while you're on the road. I try to answer all of our viewers' questions. So if you have them, put them in the chat, put them whatever. We try to answer them. And if you can't, send them to us on Twitter. We will always try to answer your questions. And some of them were like, let me just say, them with like, Linda, why do you talk so much? So I was like, well, that's me. That's how I win cases. I just talk so much that the prosecutors
people just finally give up. Okay, here's the first question. This is from Educated Black Man. Why are so many people siding with street criminal thugs in this case? Do they hate Fonnie Willis more than getting criminals off the street? So kind of a twofold question there.
Okay, so
your take.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that the citizens of Atlanta definitely want crime off the street. We know there's gang problems, and I went to lectures years ago. They talked about even the police department has gangs involved and gang tattoos, but they want the real criminals off the street. They don't want to go down the street and they don't want to be robbed. They don't want to be molested. They don't want to be sexually assaulted. But to watch this, where the prosecution is using old alleged crimes such as a marijuana joint, or 3, I think it's Xanax pills that were found on the base of a car. that's just ridiculous. Or cases that somebody has pled guilty to, or people found not guilty to, and it's just ridiculous. So why waste this? What are they doing? They're trying to just go after, it looks to me like the famous person. Or we could get the famous person. Get the real criminals. How much are you paying for this trial? What does it cost for this trial? It's outrageous.
And that's where the outrage is twofold. It's on the legal front. Like, what are you doing? You're taking all of these formerly unindicted, uncharged events, alleged events from 2015 and a little bit beyond, and now you're culling them and putting them in a basket and saying, oh, hey, now it's a whole new thing called RICO. That's the first outrage. The other is the cost. And people are incensed that their tax dollars are going to this. If they had any clue how much money was being spent, I know there was an attempt to tabulate it, but it was so categorized, it sounded relatively cheap.
Right.
Not all the expenses have been included in this trial in terms of experts, just the county time. The money that was tabulated was not salaries. Well, how can you not put salaries in there? You got multiple DAs, you got clerks. It's making people mad. Let's put it
ridiculous. But Afton does have a great question. Is there a minimum criteria to be considered a criminal organization? All right, a criminal enterprise. Now, every state is different, and the feds are different from civil cases. But in Georgia has one of the most lenient RICO cases to have a criminal enterprise. You only need like 2 acts within a period of a very short period of time. 2 criminal acts, and that's kind of like it. And so. But the follow-up question to that, Afton, is, well, what if the acts are like, you're selling a song? I mean, you're making a song. How can that be a criminal act? Well, the argument is that when you make the song and people buy it for 1 cent on Apple, that 1 cent goes into the criminal organization. Here, the prosecution says that it's the YSL organization, and therefore that becomes one of the criminal acts, one of what's called a predicate act in the law that could form the basis of a RICO criminal enterprise. It's really ridiculous, but Georgia's had success in the past, and that's where we are.
And that's why both this case and the Trump case have been pushed here in Georgia, because they do have the favorable RICO statute.
Great answer, Afton. 2 people in the PTA can commit crimes. They can call that a criminal enterprise. Yeah, the PTA can then be a criminal enterprise.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so here's, everybody knows Detective Gaither, right? She's the one who interviewed a lot of the key witnesses back in 2015. It says, is the state going to call back witnesses, including Gaither? This is from Crystal 9158. There was some discussion that Gaither was going to be coming back sooner rather than later, but that was the whole schedule has been kind of tossed in the air depending on who's available. Look at all the folks that have been witnesses more recently. I mean, I'm talking about the alleged, I wouldn't call them co-conspirators because they're unindicted, but those who allegedly took part in some of the activities that are now the focus of this RICO case. They've been given priority in terms of their appearance in trial. Doug told me just today they're down to about 90 witnesses left, 90, which puts them about halfway through, give or take. But when you have somebody like little D, who took 2.5, 3 days, and he's on the calendar, he's scheduled for half a day, what does that tell you? So to answer,
I loved Quindarius Zachary, bull junk. I mean, I loved him, but
I felt sorry for the guy, and I'm not sure.
I did too.
I don't think that's the intention when the prosecution puts this guy on. A, that you don't believe him, and B, that you feel sorry for him, the things he's dealing with physically.
You know why? Yes. Also, not only that, she, in my opinion, made love, Miss Love, not made love, Ms. Love, because it has 2 big different things here. He has a form of, he's on the spectrum, right? A form of autism, right? No doubt about that. And she kind of makes fun of how he can't read properly or how he can't write properly. We all have friends who have children, who have nieces, nephews, relatives who are on the spectrum. You just don't do that, okay? That really pissed me off, all right? And I think then all of a sudden, instead of like hating the guy, you felt sorry for him. And I see that, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Bahira? Please forgive me if I'm wrong pronouncing it.
That would have been my guess.
Doug is a great attorney. He's naive when it comes out. Evil, love, art. Now, I don't think it's so much that he's naive. When you try cases in the system, you have to always remember you have other clients, and they can come after you with your other clients. So you try to make nicey in some way while representing your client as a great attorney as best you could. I'm in a great position when I come in, usually, Michael, as out of town counsel, pro hoc vice it is called. I can be as evil and nasty as long as I don't go over the ethics lines as I want, because I'm never seeing those prosecutors again. They don't have to worry about a deal from them again. He has to live in that system.
Yeah, and off the record, he'll tell you more than he will tell you on the record. On the record, he has to be a little diplomatic for the reasons you mentioned, Linda. He's just not a mean guy. So he knows what's going on. He knows exactly what's going on. I did find it interesting today that when we transitioned from Lil D, a little more scandalous type testimony, to the cell phone guy, which is, it's brutal. Love wasn't even in the courtroom. She's gone. She doesn't even hang around for that. It doesn't justify her time. That
doesn't right. The jury has to be there, but the lead prosecutor.
And she sits really closest. She sits closest to the jury. She's very close, about 8-9 feet away. They see she's gone, and they're like, "Hey, why we have to labor through this crap?" And you're out of here. So. And
we sent you there today to find justice. Hopefully, find justice. Where is justice? And by the way, you're going to be doing more of that. You're going to be traveling more around to find where is justice. And we're going to be doing a number of cases. We have a number of things planned that we will announce little by little. I think some of them we've talked about. But let's go back to this case.
Coco,
our favorite case.
Coco_1901. Yay, Linda, we get to see you all the time now.
Thank you very much, Coco. That is so exciting. I'm so glad that we can fill a void because, although we were only on once or twice a week on the Law and Crime Network when they were having coverage that had people talking. And I had been a host there for 5 years, part-time, because as you all know, I have a full-time law practice, try cases. I miss you all. Because I think the interaction with you all and your interaction with us tells us what's happening in the world. And when you pick juries and you really have to know what's happening in the world. And I think, thank you for following us. Please tell your friends. I'm told that we're supposed to say, for our YouTube channel, subscribe, share, and like us. So I'm doing that. Okay. Justice Served TV.
And this is, I will say this is slightly different, and I like it in a good way. I'm old school TV where, all you ever got in terms of feedback was the ratings, right? But this is so much better, so much more important, so much more intimate and educational for everybody. So thank you guys for chipping in when you do. We appreciate it. Okay, here we go. Am I the only one who feels the DA violated Woody, Lil D, and MT? I don't know what they mean by violated. Done them wrong, done something illegal. Another slam on the DA, Linda.
Yeah. I mean, I think
this is from, I'm sorry, this is from Brown 3Y3S37.
Well, the prosecution will say this. They'll say, well, he's a gang member. He was never going to tell on gang members. And why did you call him in the first place? I mean, little Woody said that, look, he was finessing the cops, because what happens, and you see it here, is a theme with all of them. And this is why people get wrongfully convicted also, Michael, is because they go in, they get charged with something, or they may going to be charged with something, and the cops will have them flip, turn over, snitch, dime out, whatever you want to call it. Snitch is the old time word. Being an incentivized informant is the new lingo, all right, on somebody. And then they'll give up somebody else that they think can beat the charges because they're not guilty, or they'll give up somebody they don't like, but they don't want to be charged. And so, I think little Woody, especially another person who got shot at holding his baby in his arms, right? I mean, I think that everybody felt sorry for him, and they may be gang members. Maybe of a different gang. Who knows? They may be criminals. Who knows? The problem is, it's not in this trial. That's the issue, that whether or not they are.
Yep. Yeah. And, that doesn't make them guilty of the given charges or the crimes for which they're now accused. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. I thought I had another one. Stan, go ahead and talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, that's our Michael. So yeah, we have other attorneys, by the way, in the case, as you know, that Doug Weinstein has just been. We're going to try to have him on every week, and as I said at the beginning, we did do an interview with him today, but because of the weather and all, and the we were having trouble with Wi-Fi all day and Wi-Fi access and how Wi-Fi was going in and out. It has been taped, and we will be putting it up on the Justice Served TV page, and we're going to try to have Doug on once a week to answer more of your questions.
Yeah, it'd be great to have somebody on the inside giving us an update and kind of behind the scenes, to the degree that he can talk to us. Okay, this is a throwback to Glanville. I could have sworn Glanville said it had the lyrics had to be correlated.
I have to get a prop for this one.
You're disappearing? Where'd you go?
No, I have to get a prop for this one.
Okay. I could have sworn Glanville said the lyrics had to be correlated to a direct crime to use the lyrics. I think, obviously, what this question... Oh, and this is from Riori, RT10Q. Obviously, they're suggesting that these lyrics don't have a connection to any specific crime. And we've had this conversation before. We talked to Doug about it just the other day. It's ridiculous to allow them in the first place. The only reason I could see maybe would be if there's a very specific set of facts that are then repeated in the lyrics, very specific, then maybe. I talked to somebody on the street who happened to be a song writer, and I asked her, I said, how would you like it? If something you write, some artistic expression, later used against you in court. She wouldn't like it. I don't think too many people would. And I don't know that most people think those lyrics being admitted in this case is the right thing.
No, I agree with you. And I think Doug said that he was definitely against that. Was definitely against that. I represented one of the most famous people that wrote songs, Phil Spector. They didn't even try to use lyrics against him in our trial.
Yeah, we've talked about all these different songs, and it's never become an issue. So I think this is a Glanville screw up that will come back to haunt them, that for whatever reason, Judge Paige Whitaker has endorsed. And I don't know why. I don't know why she hasn't taken one of the many off ramps that she's given.
Yeah, if he, and let me ask this is yours. You're in April.
You have visitation rights to my.
To yours, be disrobed. I had to pick these up from Law and Crime for you. Okay, be disrobed. Don't count on it. Oh my gosh. Okay.
What was the question again?
Will Judge Glanville be disrobed because?
Don't count on it.
Don't count it. Okay.
That might be extreme. Look, Bahir has this question. Fulton
County. Yeah, go ahead.
The Fulton County Jail is not fit for humans. Are there any human rights? I'm sure there are. This is the Rice Detention Center, and we've heard. Oh my gosh, so many horror stories. Again, I was talking to Zach Gotti's mom, and he's been there now almost 2 years. And all these guys, they're accused of certain crimes, having committed nothing, and they're in a place where they may not survive. It is that bad. It's the Rikers Island of the South.
And we're going to talk about that, but going back to that, yes, it's only done to rappers, straight curly wavy. It's racist, is my opinion. Absolutely racist. It's only done to rappers, just like we see the death penalty, right? If you look at how the death penalty is imposed, in my opinion, death penalty is very, very racist. Death penalty was meant for the worst of the worst. Marcellus Williams, I'll go back to that at the beginning discussion, but we're going to actually have a discussion in the future about the Rice, right, Fulton County Jail. Because there was somebody who died there who was treated improperly. Doug talked about it last week on the show, and we're going to be working on that in the future, having a whole show on that and the violations there, along with another whole show dealing with domestic violence. We're going to be so send in your suggestions. But yes, remember goodbye. Okay, Afton, remember goodbye Earl the Dixie Chicks. Okay.
So let me just follow up on that rapper, because this is just, I'm a simpleton. I went to state college, but it seems to me is it a cracker thing? We're in the South, and therefore there's just that obvious blatant discrimination by the police. Is that it?
It is. Who the hell knows? I think it's just. I just think that it's well, the rap lyrics here. We're talking about. A certain type of music, right, from the South. And I've seen, we had a case recently where a hotel was alleged to have put their bar out of business because It was dealing with a certain type of rap music that began with the South, and Lil Wayne and all that, right? I think, and with Young Thug, it's kind of ridiculous. But yes, but here, Love put an autistic boy in Fulton County Jail after was told that the young man could not survive, and he died. And we're going to do a whole show on that. We're going to be investigating that.
That's the case Doug was talking about. Yeah.
Yep, that's the case.
No, she is evil. She really is. And to see her operate in the courtroom as if she's above it all, it's frightening. It really is.
Yeah, tell us about the deaths in the Hodge after. I mean, get the families. If families want to come on, we'll talk to them. We'll put them on the air here. My husband's been involved in a lot of cases about deaths in jail. As a matter of fact, he's been for 50 years on the commission in New York, where people die in jail. Usually, prosecutors don't want to prosecute, and his commission always says, you should be prosecuted. You're finding the real cause. That was after Rise, that were very famous. You can look them up on Google in Attica. But because there's protection, just like you were talking about, that the prosecutors want to protect each other, right? Well, this is a good one. I am just putting it up here from Cat Dragon. Dragon or dragon? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it dragon? I
like dragon. I think that's a very exotic pronunciation.
I think Cat is the wonderful pronunciation. Will lawyer love get in trouble with the bar? Probably not. Okay, because what all the judge did was put her in school. They've sent the prosecution team to, you got to be a good prosecutor, an ethical prosecutor school. Well, if you're not an ethical prosecutor after all these years, and if you're not an ethical prosecutor in this case, you're never going to be an ethical prosecutor. Okay, this is not something I don't think you can be rehabilitated from.
And that's what I think is interesting about ethics. We as attorneys have to take ethics classes and tests every few years, depending on which state you're barred in. And to me, I could take an ethics class without any sort of prep, because I think ethics is in here. You either are an ethical person or you are not. And I think you see people, they have their own, line. And to them, that's ethical, and maybe it's really not. But it's not something you can teach.
Even the withholding of discovery. When I was a prosecutor, somebody wanted to see my file. Here, take my whole file. There, sit as long as you want. Go in the conference room, sit at my desk. You get the whole file. You couldn't even have my attorney notes, because I truly believe, and this is something the courts disagree with me, that there is no attorney-client privilege for prosecutors' notes. That when you're preparing a case, that shouldn't be a privileged situation. Okay, that should all be turned over, and you can't hide behind it. And that's what they do. They hide behind making exculpatory evidence a privileged evidence that's found sometimes after someone spent 40 years in jail.
Well, look what happened with the Alec Baldwin case. I mean, Ms. Morrissey was so outrageous and so indignant and so high and mighty that whole case, we'll never know what really happened. We'll never know if there should be some culpability on behalf of Baldwin as a producer or as an actor. But she screwed the pooch on that because she was so arrogant about hiding information that she, on her own, decided was not potentially exculpatory.
Right.
And in her mind, she was okay with that. No, of course it's not.
No, but you know what? But you know what? There's some prosecutors' offices, for those who are listening right now and watching, that have their own Brady section, and they get to decide whether something is really Brady material.
That's ridiculous.
And once they decide it, and the judges uphold that, and it's ridiculous. I mean,
but
ridiculous.
As we just said, if you inside just figure, here, take it. It's not going to hurt me. If it does hurt me, then maybe my case isn't as good as I think it is. That should be something you just feel is the right thing to do, just to share that information.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't get it.
Okay, so I know you have a bunch of people watching. What other questions do you have? I'm trying to post some of them up as I go along. I usually we have someone helping us here. So this
we kind of threw together at the last second. So apologize, but we want to get this out there. So
trying to get it out there. So I do have one more question. How long is this trial going to take, Michael? We're coming up to 30 minutes.
Again, Doug's my favorite source and best source, and he says spring to summer of next year, which is actually a pretty aggressive, optimistic timetable.
And verdict from our viewers, what do you all think it's going to be?
Yeah. Can you believe there'd be any conviction in this case at this point? And as we all know, prosecution's case is not done, but they're going to have to pull something out of a hat to change my mind. I'll tell you that.
The only conviction I want is if the prosecutions have done something really wrong, or made up evidence, or somebody is made up evidence. I want the prosecutors to start aggressively treating that as crimes, as opposed just as real crimes.
Yeah.
How's it? Right. Well, the jurors had a chance to get an off ramp, and they decided they wanted to stay. Maybe that's telling us something.
What was that again?
Aftermath. So what are the jurors? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know how they're doing it. I have been trying to see in the room there, and they, even with the late testimony today, which was so boring, nobody seemed to be nodding off. I was nodding off, but they seemed to be, checking this guy out. Maybe it was a nice, I like to call it the palate cleanser, a little sorbet. After you've had these, high profile witnesses, now you've got the tech guy, the cell phone guy. Couldn't be more dry, but it changes things up.
Okay. Well, we're past our 30 minutes. Send us any information you have on, you can send us to Twitter, through YouTube, our personal Twitter accounts, just to serve on the cases you want us to look into, especially the autistic deaths in the jail in Rice County and the Rice jail, right?
Yes, Rice.
Yes. Which apparently is just awful. And we'll take a look at them. We'll also try to get people on to answer, because we're going to be staying with this YSL case for its whole time. We're not leaving like some other places.
Am I staying here, or am I coming back? I can't remember. I'm going to try and beat the hurricane tomorrow morning. Wish me luck. Congrats again to Amanda. The Where in the World is Justice? Correct answer. She got the mug. And we'll be going somewhere again soon and throw some hints out. And I hope you'll.
Thanks for joining us.
In that. Take care.